Ain't nothing worse than a smart dumb.
Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Smart Dumb Podcast, and I am here today with yet another special guest. This is a author, a poet, a mixologist, a graphic, just very, very multi-talented, multifaceted young lady. I'm here with Talaya, formerly known and never to be spoken of again as TikTok. I shouldn't even have said that.
That's cool. That's cool because most people now, when I realized that last weekend when I had put my name on, they were like, I had no idea who this was. I was like, y'all never knew my last name, like ever. So it's perfectly fine.
Right. Nah, that was one thing that I do remember that actually because I think I mentioned about last year. That Art All Night was one of CCAP was one of the things I seen you in person, and you've done that, like whatever the work name was, you still would be like first name, this my nickname, whatever the case is, last name. So, but you're definitely one of the few people. Like I promise you, in our community, a lot of folks don't know each other's real name unless it's their name. You know what I'm saying?
True. I just think about that. It's true.
For real. So yeah, definitely. Happy to have you join. So I know the primary thing I want to just get right into is we are two podcasters talking to each other. I've been at it for a few years. That's cool. And you, I'm sure you had it on your mind. I want you to talk about that. You probably had it on your mind for a minute, but you have gotten started, got kicked off, and about 2 months into it. So just let me get that backstory. When did it first become a germ in the mind, and then the process to getting to execute?
Well, first, thank you for having me here. So I'm super excited. For me, it was, I will say, a few months ago, I met my now mentor. Her name is Divya Gupta. She is the owner of her and president and CEO of Grits Consulting, her own business. And we met at this, the Pink Tie Party, the big party for the cherry blossoms that was in one of them buildings downtown DC. However it was, I call it divine intervention. So we both are also two in the winner circle with, Backpack Jeff serving as our coach and also helping us build our businesses. So with me going on to this traction of becoming a speaker, for me, I know how to perform, and that's what I'm realizing. I know how to perform poetry. I know how to have stage presence as a poet, but just speaking is a different realm for me because it's like, oh, wait, I can still have those inflections. I can still have that stage presence, but I need to actually practice not like being on a mic with just poetry on the brain. Right. So when I met with, when I had like my first one-on-one, like in person at Divya's office, she told me, like, I went back to my notebook. She told me this was like, that's what I'm telling you, this was in April. She told me you need to have a podcast, you'd be having videos, you have content out there. She's like, you got your website, you got a lot of your stuff already kind of set. You have a lot with your business together, but we don't see who you are yet. We don't see the consistent posts. We don't see like you being on a podcast and just having conversations, so that way people can have the reference of how do you actually speak in person? What do you talk about? What do you speak about with your guests? How would you be like on a panel discussion? She's like, you need to have all this stuff together. Then I suffered a few injuries, unfortunately, that kind of took me out. And I will say mindset wise too, like took me out of like really building my brand, because I was so focused on like what I was doing with my full-time, because we all know sometimes as entrepreneurs or even solopreneurs, you're still working a full-time job, which I was doing, and trying to recover and balance my pain level. So I'll say until about a few weeks ago, because this is actually still my first month and I've already recorded 4 episodes so far, that it kind of hit me where it was just like, at this point, I suffered another injury, and it was like, can't talk about too much, but it just became a moment of clarity of like, all right, I can continue to sit here and sulk and worry about all the stuff I can't do, or I can adjust with my pain level, adjust with my restrictions and my recovery plan and do what I can, because mostly what I can do right now is just sit in a spot and work on a computer as much as I can and just do physical therapy, do my injections, do my plan. And that's just kind of how I started. And I revamped, of course, like you had mentioned earlier, of me being formerly known as TikTok. I wanted to revamp because one, for safety reasons of my brand, but two, it was more so as I see myself going a whole lot bigger and large on a different scale than I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start getting known and become larger, you become on people's radar.
Mm-hmm.
So I want people to know me as my actual name, like so Talaya Heard or TC Heard, which is actually my first author name choice. But
Okay.
that's how we started.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. So now when you say now are you doing the like it's 4 episodes recorded, but you already like you're building a backlog?
So I'm building a backlog. I'm actually what I actually am doing now is I'm building a calendar of like when I'm releasing. So I've recorded 3 solo episodes and 1 episode with a guest. I have 2 recordings scheduled next week with guests, and I'm building my backlog because not knowing what may come in the future for like my health. Hopefully, like I do not want to be cut open again, but
Mhm.
not knowing what may happen for that, at least I have the content.
Right.
So that was one. That's also too something that clicked later for me. And we also know we hear Jeff say a lot, like always everything is content, everything's content, always have content, you always have content, you always have
Right.
content. So for me, it was all right, how can I just make this old content like new content? But I didn't want to, it's not, and some people may say like, well, are you actually following your plan or not? But for me, I didn't want the pressure of releasing every week, not knowing what's going to come with my health. And right now I'm truly putting my health first and
Hmm.
resting when I need to and stopping. Or so I do every other Thursday for
Hmm.
now, for just the traction and just making sure at least like if I didn't have a chance to like get in the studio this week, or if I didn't have a chance to like say for instance, I just really wasn't feeling like I'm having one of those days where I'm not feeling as motivated, I'm not feeling as like go getter because I'm human, then I have these other episodes to fall back on.
Right, exactly. And I just wanted that to be stated. I'm glad you elaborated. Like that's something a lot of people didn't get 1 month, 2 months in, self included. And then yeah, a thing happens, and now it's been 2 months. And you know the snowball when we're trying to, it's like this needs to be every day, every week, or whatever. Like that one hiccup changed, and now that avalanche, like well, dang, I might as well. And now it's been 5, 6, 7 months until it's like it takes that much for your mind to say, all right, get over it, get back to it. All so it's so much easier to just to just prepare for the fact like yes, they said I should have consistency every whatever the cycle. They didn't say I have to be live every single one of those days. You know what I mean? Like when and we have ebbs and flows. So like one of the things that's important for all of us as creators is like when you're in that heavy, just everything's flowing, like create all that. Like just go if like that day, just create all of that and then just store it. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to be like that every day. There's no reason for us to think that it's going to be. I mean, we're 20 and
So it's
30
not.
and we've seen that it's not like it's not even like I mean it probably could it's not. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. I'm just glad, just another voice, somebody else to state that. And I hope that helps the rest of us that, because it's so easy, like all of us when we give ourselves that's the most we're most susceptible to our thoughts betraying us and the doubt and all that type of stuff and things like that. So it's just good to definitely good to have just have the cue, have the content put together because there are going to be the times like your situation, which I definitely don't expect you to share more than you want, but like your situation is a valid, important thing that you cannot ignore. And then the next person's story is a valid, important thing that you don't just get to say, well, it looks like everybody else is working hard and I'm not. Like, nah, they got their story as well, you know.
And that's important because I talk about that on my second episode that came out this past Thursday, because last week I was at CCAB and um I talk about the fact that Doll Baby was one of the first people that came into my workshop, and right before she came in, I was this close from having a meltdown because I even messaged you. I was like, no one showed up.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there and I'm like, okay, am I just gonna pack up all my stuff and go, or am I just gonna get up and start teaching as if there was a class here or there were people here and at least get some content? So after, like, right when I was just still making that choice, because also too last Saturday it took a lot for me even to get out the house and to the thought of standing up and like just teaching to an empty room, and I just say, you know what, I have to do it because I need the content.
Right.
And having the conversation with, and I also referenced like how I was having the conversation with Doll Baby and Miss CK about being an artist in this field, like, and I felt great that I wasn't the only one who may have taken a step back, because I haven't been out performing for the past few months. I had, like, really right after my book release that came out in February, like I've been kind of like out of the public eye because I had to,
Yeah.
and not really giving like much like reference. So I was posting here and there, but I really was trying to figure out like, hey, what is it right now that I need? And what I needed at the moment was putting my health first. And they talked about like, hey, if your mental health isn't there, it's okay to take a step back. Like, you don't owe an explanation to anybody. Like, it doesn't take away from the fact that you're an artist. It doesn't take the fact away that you're an author or a speaker. Like, you're still a person. But if you're
Yeah.
not okay, like, it's not gonna be okay on stage. It's not gonna be okay when you're interacting with people, and that's perfectly okay.
Right, right. That's the beauty of that's what we have going for us with technology now and the internet now, is like consistency can be thought of as everything. Not like, okay, they need to see me outside every single week. Like, obviously we want to do as much as we can, but when that's prohibited, we don't have
Mhm.
to feel like, okay, if I'm not at insert event here, then nobody knows what's going on. That's where that content can come in and fill in that gap. Wow. And the whole time, and I think, like, I'll shout out, there's I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Joshua Neal. He's a very, very talented comedic performer. Another one of those, like, I'm four characters in this skit type individuals. And he's been somebody who's been willing to, step behind the scenes and say, hey, look, this almost, he actually told people at, like, while everything's looking great, he's getting all these all this love and these deals and things like that. He actually almost committed suicide, right? So, like, did we know that? No, and I'm glad we knew that because he almost did, and not 27-year-old whatever age, and we're hearing a story about it, right? So, like, there, though, in that situation, these people are out here just sharing these things, and the whole time behind the curtain, behind the Wizard of Oz wall, we don't know what's going on. So it's like, absolutely, shout out to Doll Baby, because she has no problem taking her breaks. I have not seen her a lot this year, but I respect it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? I respect it. Shout out to her. Shout out to Phil. And I'm just quick on Phil. So I hadn't seen her in like 3 months. And so we pull up, I'm speaking to everybody I saw. Phil's like, hey, oh my God, I haven't seen you. Where you been? I said, Phil,
Mhm.
be for real. Like, you haven't been around. Everybody else has seen me every week, every other week. You've been chill. She was like, you're right. That
Right.
is right. And that's perfectly fine. And I'm gonna tell you, when it's time for me to take my break, I'm gonna take it. Please don't feel guilty about that. Ever. Like, please. And I get it that, again, we gotta do this. No, you don't. It'll still be there. The crowd, I get it. The fans, the fans will still be there. The people that need the message will still be there. The message you need to deliver will still be there. If, God forbid, let me put it like this. If, God forbid, something bad happens, you can't put out the content. If you overrun yourself, you can't share it.
So I talk about this too in my solo episodes
Yeah,
of how I'm
definitely
hard-headed.
check that out, y'all, for sure.
Yeah. I'm hard-headed, so a lot of things, especially within like the last month, that like kick started me into like starting my podcast and doing my revamp and everything, was so many things like people were telling me to do didn't click until like I had like this really like hard blow at life. And I was like, okay, at this point, what I'm doing ain't working.
Yeah.
So I need to get my stuff done. And what I did was, and we've even talked about this, that you're just like, you're just starting. Like, it's
Right.
okay. You don't have these three things that like you don't have an intro, you don't have an outro. It's okay. And I was like, I need to get this and I need to get that. Cause that's why I'm like, like for me, it's like I'm listening to like different podcasts that inspire me. I'm watching like you and like the other people too that inspire me and that are a bit of an influence, like what they have and what they don't have. And I'm like, okay, I should add that, I should add that. But that's just, I'm realizing that's just like how I work in my personality, which
Yeah.
is why I made the decision. I'm like, I'm not editing my podcast at all. Like whatever is said is there, because I know that that for me would spiral down another
Yeah.
rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
I recognize that comes from like dealing with anxiety on a daily, because I have generalized anxiety disorder. And there's just certain stuff also too that will then go into like OCD. But I try to be perfectionist because I've learned a lot of different things like without this journey of throughout this journey of entrepreneurship, of okay, I see what I can make better, I can see what I can do better, I see what I can do better. So, and I'm the first person where I would rather learn how to do it first so I can show somebody else before I
Hmm.
hire somebody else to do it.
Hmm.
Because if, like you said, God forbid something happened, that person can't make it, or whatever the case may be, then now I know how to do it and step in and fix it. And that's how I've always been, even with my career outside of just building my company and entrepreneurships, is I'm always normally the person that people come to for the answers. I gotta have the answers. So I've always kind of been that go-getter, but it has translated in certain areas of my life of being the perfectionist. But I will say, could you say something else about us and our message will still be the same? We know that also too that there's sometimes a stigma within the poetry community that if you're not singing on stage, if you're not like doing these things consistently, then sometimes they'll be like, well, who are you?
Hmm.
Like, oh, I may know of you, but I haven't seen you consistently. You're not doing this consistently, then maybe you don't want it enough. And there's something that Christoph says, the owner of the Poet Life, where he's
Yeah.
like, don't confuse popularity with momentum. So
Mm.
you could be getting all these stages, that's cool, but are you actually delivering the message? Like, are you actually a part of your art? Are you delivering the message at the rate that you want to be, that you want
Sure.
to? And just because, like we said earlier, just because you're not doing it, it doesn't take away the fact that you still are that thing. You just
Hmm.
gotta put yourself first. So that's what I'll say. At least last weekend, I left feeling rejuvenated about, where I
Good.
don't feel guilty no more. Like if I just say, "Hey, yeah, no, I'm not doing it right now. I just can't do it right now." I've been doing that, and I've been giving myself a lot more grace, which my therapist also too tells me to do.
Right.
But I've been practicing doing that, and that's how I've been
Yeah.
taking care of myself, because I wasn't doing that before.
Right, right, right. I mean, yeah. So I appreciate a lot there. First of all, yeah, I'm definitely shout out to therapy. I have a psychiatrist 'cause that's what I need in my situation. I don't have, I would never, maybe I was, maybe I used to be nervous. I would never be ashamed to talk about that. It's just not going to happen because I know not only is it helping me, but there's other people that, that benefit from hearing that. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you for sharing that piece. But like the journey of, for whoever this is, for the journey of working on and fixing and building these habits, if they weren't happening for 10, 20, 30 years, now it's going to take years. It's going to take, God, hopefully it doesn't take 10, 20, 30 years to undo it, right? Like you have to you went this direction, now you got to bring it back. That it sucks because we like, okay, to like next week, I'm gonna sit in this mirror like this poem, and next week, all that childhood, whatever, all that recent trauma, whatever that thing or this thing I just never developed, it's gonna be. It's not how it works. It's not. And I think if we remove, hopefully, if we remove that expectation, then it's like, all right, well, what is going to work? You know what I mean? There's some people, unfortunately, that might discourage them. They're like, oh, I don't feel like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot
I,
of
I
work.
I'll say like I've had to counter that with like I said, talking to Divya, which is what I'm very grateful that God brought her into my life when he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
She saw like me having like, okay, this is everything I want to do, to kind of like my world crashing, and then her helping me like get back to a level that I can adjust with, where she told me, because all I talked about was my to-do list, and it was like at a point where I was sending her my to-do list and I was like, I'm sorry this isn't getting done, but like she's like, you need to like take a break, give yourself some grace. But the first thing she told me was, every single day, like when you get up, you practice with gratitude and intention, which is something I'm doing. And I won't, I can say it's happening daily, but it's happening.
Right.
The next thing she told me to do was, when I make my to-do list for like the week or for the day, however way it works for you,
Right.
pick out like the top 3 things that take priority over everything else. And
Right.
as long as you accomplish those 3 things, you're still making progress.
Yes.
So I love that fact of that's how I tackle my to-do list now. Like this morning, even in the Rental Circle, Jeff was saying like, hey, share like your Google Drive, just like your business, so that we can help keep each other on track and accountability.
Hmm.
So I started making my master to-do list, which is something I wanted to do, because in my head I'm like, I kind of already know what I need to do, but then I drop the ball, drop the ball, drop the ball, drop the ball. But now it's, as much as I like to say I'm very old school, which even though I just realized you're older than me, last week, is I like pen and paper, but I'm starting to learn that the electronic part of even me typing it out and writing it out is helping me a lot better. But here's my master to-do list. This is what I'm going to tackle today and see what takes priority, which helps a whole lot better, I will say.
Yeah. Now even that, like, it's interesting because I big shout out. We mentioned it, but big shout out to Jeff, Backpack Jeff, Winter Circle. Please go look that up, check that out if y'all not already, because I mean it's so all of us are having immense value from it. And I'm not familiar just by name, Divvy, but you mentioned that you had a mentor. I did not realize that your mentor came from the Winter Circle. So that's even proof positive as well. So just salute to the whole community, all doing really good things, and then also encouraging each other, having me seeing other people with accomplishments have the modesty to let somebody else better them, and not be on some ego or on some pride, and just be like, okay, look, it's gonna help me go to the next level. I'm with it, and we're being led by an individual that makes you, comfortable to say, it's not about shaming. It's about, okay, what I like that. Try this, add this to what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so it's invaluable, 100%.
I think,
Um,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to
no,
point
you
out
good. Go ahead.
that you also too have a willingness to learn and to listen. Like, you know that you don't know everything. Like even me, like I know I don't know everything, but we have the willingness and like the hunger to learn. Like we want that knowledge to get better. A lot of
Right.
people let their ego get in the way, and there's nothing wrong with having ego. Like
Right.
if you feel like you can do something, and it's like, what is it? What do you say? It ain't tricking if you got it. Like I'll be throwing my little quotes out there, but it ain't tricking if you got it. So it's like, if you can do this thing, that's cool. But if you really want to get to the next level and not stay stagnant and not just be in this bubble, but know that you are more than this one thing that you identify yourself with,
Yeah.
you have to like build that support circle, and you have to gain that knowledge. Like you have to get your mentors, and even mentors don't have to always be people that we can do this with, that you can talk with. They can just be people that you admire from afar, and you listen to their videos and their things and how they speak and just how they run their businesses and stuff like that, to watch that and be able to apply it to your life and how it works for you.
Right. 100%. 100%. Now, as far as your shout out, Christoph, shout out Poet Life, I had the pleasure of working directly with him. Thanks to you. Like, what I'm saying? Thanks to fellow poets that said, hey, there's this opportunity. I mean, that's the one hand watch the other and looks out for it. Because, like, yeah, that was one opportunity you passed on, but others will show up. You know what I'm saying? And somebody like myself and the community you built, we'll do the same for you next time. We had the opportunity, instead of hoarding. Have everybody can eat. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody can eat.
100%.
Yeah. Now the one, as far as what was it? Activity or consistency or activity with momentum, or popularity with momentum. The other thing, just on the art side, is when you oversaturate yourself with open mics, that's almost like doing the 5 pound dumbbell, 50 reps after it's not building anymore. Open mics only take you so far. And one of my other recent episodes, she went into details like, yeah, open mic, you're just in that, everybody's cheering before they even heard you. Like this is just that, hey, do your thing, congratulations. A slam will humble you. A feature will, it's like I gotta get all this material will humble you. Traveling somewhere where don't nobody know you that like so it's also not like just because I do open mics every single week doesn't mean I'm getting up to insert somebody else's talent level. I see your face. I actually have no idea where you're going. I'm excited. Like what is this? What is this bringing
I
out?
keep
What do you want
forgetting
to
I'm on
talk?
camera, so I get
You
this
are
from
okay.
my mom.
I love it though. I was like, no, this is like it's like you did the raised hand feature. So let me know.
Um, for me, and I've been performing poetry since what 2010, so about 13 years now. When I started my first spoken
Yeah,
word poetry performance was at my alma
March.
mater, Bridgewater
That's our
College.
same time actually. Yeah,
So, but I've taken again like
yeah,
hiatuses, breaks in between
I
because
get
things
it.
happen. But even when I started, um, back 13 years ago, I and this is like no shade. I don't want nobody to take this and be like, oh my gosh, like she hates open mic. No, I don't necessarily hate open mics. I don't like just feeling like the only events that poetry like I can get to or access that type of art is open mics. Like I don't like open micing because one is expensive.
Mm,
And Cookie B said it best too when she was on the podcast with Jeff.
mm,
Was that when you think about open mics, like you got a park, that's gas. Of course, you're gonna get at least one drink, if not two or three, because you're probably drinking it too fast. So that's like then you gotta eat, then you gotta drive back. Like you gotta think about your outfit, especially even if you're featuring. So if you're not treating yourself like a business and writing these things off, like you gotta think about
yeah,
your outfit. Like every open mic, I look at that's at least a minimum of $250 because again,
mm,
of course, we're like women. It's nails. If you wear open toe shoes, that's feet too. Your hair,
right,
makeup, all that stuff like adds up to me. But it's the part of open micing, like you said, that everyone's cheering because we know how hard it is to get on a mic, whether we see like each other or we see new people.
right,
Everybody's still cheering because it's the fact that you had guts to get up on that stage and get up on that mic, which is something not easily to do for
right,
any of us. And we've all had our fumbles. We've all had our like like
right,
let's be back on the
right,
mics. But for me, I personally just don't. I will always show up to events and like support my friends and stuff like that. But if I'm very intentional now about what open mics I go to. Normally, if I'm going to like a different open mic, it's mostly to either see the feature or I'm supporting a friend. But another part of that, what you had said earlier, was about like not hoarding like events for yourself. Um, I have a saying that even if I tell people like within my hospitality industry too, is wherever I go, I always take my good people with me.
mm,
I always want to make sure that I'm showing respect to the people who have paved the way for me, who have
right,
given opportunities to me, but I also too want to be that liaison and be that resource for people to help them better themselves. That's pretty much the whole mission and premise of my companies is to help people get to the best version of themselves. So when you talk about that particular event, like we honestly were just in the office working on some stuff. He was like, "Hey, do you know someone?" And then I'm like, "Okay." I asked, and I said, "I'm going to ask him and put it out there." And I said, "Oh yeah." And then Jeff signed off for you too. He was like, "Yeah, I know, Lunatic. Let's go ahead and show it to him." But that was not going to be me. Oh yeah, hey, I can do it.
mm,
Especially when I knew the premise was what you did by the fact that I'm going to shout out the fact that you wrote a poem within 24 hours. It was absolutely fire. Yes, y'all
thank you,
had. I hope you got the video because that poem in
yeah,
24 hours was amazing. I
thank you,
could not, but I'm gonna make sure I show like love to other people who've not just shown love for me, but also too they deserve it, and I know that they want it. So everything again for me comes back to intention. So when it comes to the open mic, that's what you said, like the momentum, the popularity, and like confusing it with process, like with progress, like featuring in out of state, like that's amazing. I've
Yeah.
done those. It's no other feeling like it, because then you're going to a different space where people don't
Right.
know you, then you gain a different following. And I think that's also too how you build your following and the different progress that comes with that. But I'm gonna be very, my face was like that because I'm just honestly I can't do the open mic thing. Like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I feel like I didn't serve my time a little bit. This is not
There you
me saying
go.
I'm grateful. This is me saying that I've done the open mic
Yes.
constantly. I
Yes.
can't, no.
Yes, yes, yes. Shout out Orville, right? Like I
Yes.
haven't been to Pure Poetry Live in since for your consideration. Before that, and I had to look this up. I went in I went in February. I don't even remember I went in January. I guess I think for your consideration was May, and I'm going in November. He has done one every single month.
For
Has
10
ha,
years, 11 years.
there, yeah, yeah. By the way, now let me ask you a rhetorical question. Has Pure Poetry been suffering attendance-wise
Dude,
without being
dude. I went to, when I was able to go to Pro Poetry, because he has them every first, I think it's Thursdays now of
every
the month.
first Thursday?
That Karma DC. I am
Yeah,
like super proud of Orville because that's a huge stage and
yes,
like venue. It's crazy. When I went to Pure Poetry, I want to say it was in that roughly first few years of the 2010. So when I went to it, I know I think it was next to Marvin's. It was somewhere on U Street, but I know you had to go down the stairs and it was in this small room. So
hmm
that's when the last time I was at Pure Poetry, because since then he's continued to build the
yeah,
momentum on this platform, and people actually come to DC for Pure Poetry. Super proud of him. I haven't been able to go to it yet to see the new blessed space Karma, but that's just so amazing. But he's not suffering on it because also too, Orville is very smart where he knows his market, he attracts it, he can stays consistently with it to keep something like that consistently for over a decade. That's absolutely amazing accomplishment,
hmm
and get a bigger stage at that, where he can still also to give other poets the opportunity to feature and to come on a platform that way, where there's all walks of life from everywhere coming to that. So it's not just the same people you're seeing.
right,
Um, that's amazing.
right,
And
right,
I
right.
applaud and love him for, like, that's
100%.
absolutely amazing.
100%. So I have to like it seems like a fantastic time because I've been meaning to get this point off. So the point is the art and the show is going to move on. Now, then as far as that's not even the most important part for the person. What is it doing for me? If if the expenses is to this level and then I'm saying, well, how do I offset it? And one, if you don't even know that, like if you don't even know that condition, one, if two, it doesn't make sense, then why are we doing it? You know what I'm saying? If it's taking that much, and he's an example, and there are a few like that. Now we're at the point some of these spots are so popular that there's no guarantee you even get to perform. Why put that out there, risk yourself, and now you're mad at the venue or the platform or something you didn't have, it didn't make sense from the first. I could go up and kill it, and it still is, should I have gone there for whatever reason? Well, then I need to go to the next one because this is DMV. There are a million events. They're not all built the same. We know that. They're not all
Mhm.
built the same, but there are multiple ways to get your art out there other than saying, I must pay this, pay that. Then they're even like, so shout out, I'm gonna shout out Trap Poetry, and that's tomorrow. My ticket was free, right? So even he has no problem. I don't know, I would love to know his journey. He has no problem charging. He's not sitting up here like, oh, it's an open mic and needs $5. Who said that? Who like? So that's the one I want to touch. Us artists aren't just sitting on, everybody's just not sitting on all this income. That's fine. So if you know your limit, know your means, and go to those. But the art is evolving. So people will complain of this price, but it's selling out. So if I made it $7.50, we're all not getting in there. So it's not
I,
adding up. If you
and
don't,
I
if
know
it's
we
not
had this
for you, don't
conversation.
do it. Go ahead. Mhm.
I know we had this conversation like I want to say a few months ago, whatever, when Pure Poetry first came out and they were talking about ticket prices.
Yeah.
Um, for me, if I was at said stature of Orville the poet,
Yeah.
of not just his many accolades, but the fact of the venue, like besides of it just being about the art, like he is thinking of himself as a business. And I think that's also too with many artists. Um, if you're like me, when it comes like a hard-headed moment where you don't think of yourself as a business, but you have to start also too treating your art and treating this as a business. Like Christoph says it most, like he says mostly when we want to get into these other spaces and get into these other venues and events and things of that nature, they want those people who are signing the checks want to deal with other businesses.
Right.
Sometimes they're not gonna want they don't want to deal with just a person. They want to deal with an actual business, like what's your one pager, what's your website, what's your thing. So for me, on a particular topic of just the ticket prices, you have to, like you said, start thinking about the cost. And yeah, I don't know like what Orville's thought process is, but I respect it. Like he's built something over the last decade, like by his blood, sweat, and tears,
Yeah.
and all the other sacrifices that he's made. He has every right to charge what he wants to charge.
Hmm.
For any other events that we go around the city, everybody has the right to charge what they want to charge. Like shout out to another one of my mentors that I absolutely love, Whiskey Girl. She's
Yes.
celebrating is it Today Celebrate? She's
Yeah.
celebrating 100 events, and I've
Wow.
gone to a lot of her events and paid for her events
Hmm.
too,
Hmm.
because not only because I believe in her and she's worth it, but she has every right to charge for what she wants to charge. Like the things that people don't see, like outside of the hosting and outside of the experience, that shit costs money. I'm sorry, can we curse? My bad.
You're
But
good. You're
that shit costs
good.
money. Like it costs money. And so and that's another thing too, that a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'll say for me too, within my first 2 years of businesses, I was shelling out my own money, getting whatever event I could or getting whatever order I could to make sure that my business was still prospering. But I ended up losing a lot more money by not actually charging what I'm worth, charging my value. And if those people are going to charge for that event at that price, if you can't afford it, or if you don't get your early bird ticket, which is
Right.
normally cheaper,
Right.
that's on you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like that
Yeah.
is on you. Everybody has a right, especially when you are selling an experience. We have to think about it from that point too. These aren't just like your one-off open mic shows, like you said, that you're just gonna sign up on the list
Hmm.
and everybody goes on. No, like most of these events now, they have a set featured list,
Hmm.
or they're doing it by lottery system where you can put into your name in the lottery. If you get called, you get called. If you don't, you don't. Then you come back and try again. But that's up to you. You have to be willing to gamble at that loss.
Right.
But if you can't afford that, that's why I said open micing is expensive and these events
Yeah.
are expensive.
Yeah.
Why you have to be intentional about where you're gonna go, who you want to meet, because and also too, these moments and like stages like that, like whiskey live whiskey nights, now that she's at District Made distillery, which is an amazing feature. Then also too at Pure Poetry at Karma, those are people that go to those events can also too help you get into other doors where you need to be networking,
Right.
and you need to be trying to get on their other stuff. Like you need to be
Right.
trying to get in their venues, get on their events, do that. But you have to start operating like a business.
Yeah.
And I think for me, my mindset change also too around the open mics is that a lot of the people that I want to start moving and shaking and handshaking aren't in these
It's
rooms.
not there.
They're not in these rooms. So if I want to elevate my brand, I want to elevate
Yeah.
my business, because at this point, like what we've also talked about is that I am moving in a space in my life where besides recovery, besides like growing my business, I'm actually moving to a space in my life where I'm about to be starting a family, and I'm being intentional about that with my partner. So for that, it's not just about me anymore. It's
Yeah.
about me building the future for my future children, for my family, because it's not just me, it's an us, and us as
Yeah.
a unit have to have money to survive. So yes, I do this for the good of my art and the good of the people and the community and all those stuff. But at the same time, I have to be mindful that I am a business. I have to conduct myself as such as a business,
Right.
and that I run a business as a businesswoman. And a lot of people don't like that.
No, 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 no. It's like, and a lot of that is on, again, it's on them. Why? Because they're acting like we're still in just this circle. There is an individual, the $40 ticket isn't at the same people I came up with. It's for them people that go to that just spent money on Beyonce. Shut up. Like that was nuts. So what's $40 if I spent $600 for one night? You know what I'm saying? It's for that. It's if I go if I go out there, if I go out there and I do what I'm supposed to do and handle business, then I'll actually be able to come back and just do a free show for the community. And then that will bring me back to them and say, oh, he's not just chasing the dollar, he's uplifting it all bills. But like, and I've never like the people with that's what's so, oh my God. The people with the dollars and the movers and the shakers very rarely get mad at you for doing work at a smaller level. The people that were just doing it for the love, and you start trying to elevate. Why are you trying to do that? It's so please.
I was like, and you want to know why? It's because they don't mind seeing other people successful, and it does
Oh,
not ruffle their
and there's a
feathers.
difference. That's
There's a
it.
quote on my page that I put when you know that success is in the neighborhood, be ready when it comes knocking. If
Mm-hmm.
I know success is right around the corner, or I see like you, or I see like some of my other, like my colleagues start getting the momentum, like even Steph Marie, like the fact that she was on the news, she
Right.
was just in, what was it, on WTA, like on a actual documentary
Yeah.
about like
The go
DC
go.
poetry,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
I know how hard this girl has been working.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman has been working for the past like years and things like
Right.
that on building her brands. Like, I'm so excited to see that, because why? Success is in the neighborhood, honey.
Yeah.
And that means like I need to have my stuff together, because when I get the chance to answer the door, I'm
Right.
going to come ready. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who they may say that they're excited for you, or that, oh yeah, that's good, or then it becomes shady with, oh yeah, with your little business, or you
With your
making little drinks or something
little
like that, or you're like, don't little none of my shit, okay? Everything that I
never
do
was.
is big and grand, and I'm not
Yeah.
just saying that because I'm a big girl. It is always on a scale of elevation,
Right.
but you can tell the jealousy that comes out when
Right.
you just being you.
Right.
And at that point, I've learned the hard way within these 31 years is, oh well, like it
Yeah.
is not my problem to answer your issues for you. If you
Yeah.
have an issue with that, that is something that you got to work out internally.
Go get your therapist.
Yeah, and I know that we also too suffer from the self comparison. Like, damn, they must be doing that. Like, I wonder what you're doing. Like you said in the beginning, you don't know what anybody else's story is. You know what they're doing, or
Right.
how they're putting in that man hours to get all that stuff done.
Right.
But stopped turning off social media to stop comparing my journey to somebody else's journey,
Right.
because I'm like, okay. And it was the lesson I had to learn through therapy. Like I'm like, okay, I've been doing poetry for over a decade. I'm not getting features like this, but there was one time when I was putting in the work. So I'm just like, and I had to look at it like, are you actually putting in the
Put
work
it in
right
the
now?
word.
Are you actually doing what you need to be
Sure.
doing to be at the level that you want to be? And then when the answer was no, then there was something I had to look about on myself and question myself. Okay, so what are we doing right now that's not working, and adjust and make a new plan. But I can't instill want of acceleration and happiness and joy just for somebody else's um achievements in somebody else. I can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's something
Right.
they gotta work out on themselves. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another way to look at it is, look, I'm very busy. There's a lot of opportunities. Um, if the snakes are showing themselves, cool. Now I can lighten my load. Thank you for showing somebody I don't have to really deal with for real anymore. Because again, I probably needed to make room for the next opportunity anyway. You just made that very easy for me. Person that can't move, I can't be just. It's just not, and everything hasn't been, so like this year 8 features and this and that and this and that, right? Best poetry, right? and I appreciate and so I appreciate it because 2019 sucked, and so did 2020, and a little bit of right. But everybody else wasn't with me there. You know what I'm saying? None of them had to deal with it there, right? So please don't. I don't want nobody to be one that you don't want to be like me. You don't want that other side. I promise. I didn't. I mean, I appreciate though. Sometimes God, God will put us through these things so that we come out and come greater. I hear that. I respect it. But if I had my choice, no, I didn't. I don't want to deal with that. So like that's the problem with the envy, with the jealousy is you don't know the whole mile in my shoes. You don't know what you're trying to sign up for. You just saw all the great stuff. Which one of us is among us is only having great stuff happen? You know what I mean? But it's so easy to forget, and social media will do that because very few people are saying now. A lot of them are starting to do that, and I really appreciate them because we need that. We need, hey, I just got this. Hey, here, the behind the scenes, this went wrong, that went wrong. But a lot of the FYP is all everything's great. The lighting is wonderful. Everything's shining. It's like that's not whose life is that. The people that are doing that, and God, and I hate that it's happening. Some of them, again, have they've gone to the place you can't go back because they were fighting demons all the time that we thought, ooh, they got 500,000 likes and ran out of the will to. So it's like you don't know everybody's story, and somehow we say that every day and we still forget. So turn social. There's nothing wrong with turning social media off. Absolutely, or even limited it. Log on, post mine, sign it back on. Come
That's
back
what I do.
on.
I turn my notifications off on everything. So like even when y'all be sending me messages or y'all like stuff or comment, I check in now when I want to check in. And it's like I'm managing 3 social media accounts. So like I check in when I want to check in, and I turned everything else off because I was just like, I don't really in my head. I don't want to say I don't care because I do care because that sounds like a little rough. But it's like what I'm dealing with right now, putting myself first.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be thinking, oh, I can't wait till this person posts, can't wait till that person posts because we're all showing just the highlight reels. And that's why I went in another part of my podcast where I talked about the actual truth behind the transformations in our journeys at whatever level of success that you're at.
Yeah.
And success also too looks different to everybody.
Right.
Can I consider myself successful? Yes, because the things I've accomplished. But do I think I've made it yet? No, I still got a long way to go. I still have work to do, and there's always room for improvement. So for me, it also becomes, how can I make sure that I'm still being intentional, like with my message? Like my first podcast episode, I was rambling a little bit, but it was also too like that was my first episode. Like after I want to say maybe the week after I had finally got myself in a better headspace and like a space of like moving forward, of just dealing with that first initial blow of life. And it's like I can't talk about it as much because now it's become like a legal case. But I'm talking about like the actual like what am I going through right now through this journey. Even yesterday posting on my story, I was like, look, y'all, it took me hours to get to the office, to the studio, and I knew I was going to be there anyway because I was recording an episode. But it's like I at least try to go in a lot earlier for me to be prepared, try to get myself together, but also to just prep. But I can get some work done before that podcast interview. I got there and I was just like, I'm hurting. This I'm like I said, part of my treatments right now is injections. I just got this injection in my back. It's a little bit lower under where I have a titanium plate at. I thought I was kind of going to adjust like I've done in the past, but they're working, but it's like it's still that pain there. And I was trying to get it together, and I was, as soon as like my guest came in, I was just like, all right, let's pull it together as best we can. But even when you watch that video of that episode, I'm still adjusting, I'm still maneuvering because I was uncomfortable, but I was just like, all right, I'm not editing it. Let's just let it go. I'm still going to go through with my conversation because this is how I can show up right now. I'm showing up with the best I can. And a lot of people know that some people don't want to show up at all if they can't be perfect, but it's like now I can't wear heels. the one thing. If you see me in the past couple years, you know I show up with
Right.
heels.
Oh yeah, I mean, we
This
see the
flat,
we see the top of the outfit. Like this is a
yeah,
dress,
like this
right?
flat situation drive me insane, but it's what I have to do right now.
Right,
So
right,
it's an adjustment
right.
because we're all getting older, we're getting finer, but we just have to adjust, and that's how it is.
Absolutely. So two things in the same vein. One, in both of these things are things you're being vulnerable. Well, shout out to you for being vulnerable. But I bet you on the flats situation. Now, once you get past the, all right, I would have loved to wear these heels. There are some stylish flats that fit an outfit. They exist. They're not a lot of them. It's not the most ideal, but do they exist? You can correct me.
Um, I guess.
Right, which is
I'll say yes, they do. I would just say that I don't care how I should have listened to people when I was in college and I first
yeah,
got that injury on my knee, and they were like, my doctors told me not to wear heels anymore, but I still did it anyway every single day. Um, I would say yes, but for me, like a part of my injury is that I can't wear like closed toe shoes or even some of my tennis shoes right now,
mm,
just because like I have cramping that goes like in my feet, so I have to
mm,
have an open toe shoe on.
mm.
I've gotten over the fact is at this point it's like I'm choosing comfort over anything
Yeah,
else,
yeah,
but I had to also to grow out of the materialistic things that I thought
yeah.
made up my identity.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's for me is like a growth moment.
yeah,
As have
okay.
but also too as I look at a closet full of shoes and how much money I've spent on them, and they're just sitting there and I can't wear them. I'm just
uh,
at like plays with my mind, especially getting with the budget thing and everything now. But it's just like I said, it's an adjustment,
yeah,
and it is what it is, and
yeah,
you kind of have to like for me it's like tricking your mind to focus on something else
right,
but still make it do what it do and
right,
just keep
right, right.
moving.
You better throw them wherever. You better throw those on insert marketplace here and get some of that cash back. That happens. That's
I will get back in them one day, so that's
that,
why they're staying
uh,
where they are.
but no,
Get
and
back in
that's
them one day.
and that's always funny. Like that, this has absolutely nothing to do with art at all. Like people look at their closet and they have a million things. They're like, I don't need all this. But then that process is saying, all right, this one I'm willing to give. It's a different story. I really like these. I might wear or I will wear them one day. I get it. Right. I get it. So okay.
I do like a cleanse of my
Yeah.
closet like twice a year.
Right.
I'll give like my clothes like to like Salvation Armies or put them like I put them always like in the drop box right by my church for Baptist in Fort Washington. So
Yeah.
I always will like take at least like 2 or 3 bags out like my
Right.
stuff. But
Right.
it's now like I'm in like these spaces of what do I feel comfortable in? Like, what do I like? What do I not like? It's still a moment of evolving because it's also too, what am I really comfortable in?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
lately it's just been shorts and t-shirt. Now it's fall, which is my favorite season. And thigh high boots are a must.
Yes.
And I
There
can't
you
wear
go.
them right now, but it's like I'm saving them because I also know for me it reminds me of a goal I'm trying to reach.
There
Like
you
I'm trying
go.
to recover and get back off of like my crutch and just keep moving forward.
There you
And I'll
go.
be able to walk back in these one day. But then I have a feeling like I'll probably get there. I'm just like this will literally be for like special events or me taking photo shoots, but I don't see me wearing heels again every day because now I'm just so kind of comfortable being on the floor.
Right. There you go. There you go. There you go. So where I was originally with that is like if you go into a room and announce to everybody, hey, I'd rather be wearing heels right now than that. But if you just show up, like they're probably going to give you credit on what you do because you're not like you aren't fashionable because of that. That could even have been a major part of your outfit, but you're not fashionable because I wear heels. You're fashionable because of the whole
Mhm.
presentation. And there's a way to still be very on point and be look out for your health and safety. So that was the one. The two, I don't know the episode. I'm gonna check the episode out. Maybe this is like a real tough episode, and you're like very obviously doing all this, but you know that you were moving around and squirming more than most. I don't know that everybody was going to see that if they're not being told. Again, maybe this one was like super extra, but like there again, everybody's not looking at this thing that we see. It's not all the time. Sometimes, a lot of times we're like, oh my God, everybody is staring dead at, and they're not, or they're not looking for the reason you think they are, right? So it's, our mind will betray us. And I'm speaking, it happens to me all the time. I love how, those times where I can give somebody this fantastic advice, and then it's like, okay, what happened? Like now I'm supposed to be taking that advice. What happened? So I get it, but like, gotta be. That's why do we say grace all that we have to give it to ourselves? We say it all the time because we don't do it enough.
We don't. I will say, I'll be first to say, look, I'm a hypocrite. I'll be like, yeah, you need some grace. I'll be hearing somebody else's story. I'm like, girl, do you hear what you were just doing? Like, give yourself some grace. But then I'll be like, you ain't give yourself no grace, right? But I know that for me, that's something like I'm very open and, like you said, vulnerable with that. That's something I actively work at every single day. Because there are days where, like the last few days where I had to sit here in my bed and kind of like not move but figure out what was the adjustment. I was watching TV and I'm like, when I watch TV, I can be doing this, I can be doing this, but I'm like, that's not me actually really relaxing or sitting still like I'm supposed to. So I really just need to just sit still for right now and just like watch mindless TV, whether it be Modern Family or The Real Housewives right now. Like I just need to take my mind off of it. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is the day where I can finally get out of bed. I don't have to like stay in it. And then I was just like, oh, they were right. I'm still not 100%, but I'm like, I'm gonna do what I can and do what I can. But when you said that everybody's not looking at it, for me, because I'm so picky. And it comes back to, I guess, that anxiety and the OCD that I deal with is I always try to think of things from a consumer or a client's perspective. And if there is something that I may pick out, somebody else can pick it out too. But I also know that comes from me dealing also too with trauma and being in the hospitality industry and anticipating needs. And it comes from a lot of different things. So I've acknowledged that, but I'm figuring out ways every day how to like trick my brain to doing something else or really just not taking it as serious.
Right. And there's power and there's value, and that's your thing. That's what you grew up. The whole hospitality, anticipating is very. It's not about downplaying it, but the counter is you're very big. There's everybody else. So are they really catching that one? Did they even? You know what I mean? Right. Like it's right. It's it's all good. That's why we're that little opportunity to prove that acknowledgement. Listen, there's power as far as I'm concerned. There's power in being able to say, okay, I didn't have to do that, or I already did it, but we can shift. There's power in being humble enough to acknowledge, because some people are like, no, I needed to, and they're not gonna, and they're like, all right, you're just gonna stubborn your way to, good luck. You know what I mean? Good luck. But we can you can kind of Pastor, there's like two other things, and so I don't know how much you want to even just mention, that you have this cocktail business that you do as well. Just briefly, like when did that start? How did that come?
So that was my very first business that launched in 2020. I will say that I didn't know that it would have been a business without Backpack Jeff, because when I joined the Warner Circle, and like our first goal was taking care of me, my mental health, and the second one was how can we monetize like what it is I'm passionate about and what it is that I do. So Phenomenon Cocktails, even though yes, they are phenomenal, it's phenomenon. And I got the name from RuPaul because I love me a drag queen, honey. I love me some drag queens. So he's always talking about being like the world stopping phenomenon. So that's how I got like Phenomenon Cocktails.
Nice.
That's where the name came from. And then I've always been, how can I say this without sounding like an alcoholic?
I don't know.
There's always a way that people like look at this. So in college, I will say this, in college, when I was old enough to drink, I never liked the taste of alcohol. So I always figured out ways to cut it. So I mean, but hey, it happened. We've learned. So I always figured out ways to cut it. And I would like to say that there's a good science to this. It's really not. The best example I can give is for those of us who love the movie Ratatouille, and
Hmm.
how Remy just like takes a bite of the flavors, but he's like thinking about it in his head and how they may mix and how they match. That's kind of how I go about with my mixology, but also too, it came a lot from learning how to bartend from being a restaurant manager. Like that's how I learned how to actually bartend,
Okay, okay.
and just try like learning different cocktails. Like it's for me, it's a lot of muscle memory and a lot of visual, like hands-on learning. And then I just took it like to myself. I'm like, okay, so I actually would like to drink this or drink that. And it goes back to one of the other things I love about my brand in general is I love to tell stories. Like I illustrate new views through the art of storytelling, like about a lot of taboo topics. So when it comes to making drinks, or my event service, which is Phenomenal Cocktails, because we do the bartending services for events. We do the like packaged charcuteries plus with like a perfect beverage that's paired, and we can make it in any color that you like. Of course, it's glitter. You don't see a lot of glitter on me today, but it's a lot of glitter because that's my thing. Um, I tell the story of your taste buds like in a drink or in a glass, because that's with bartending, you get to actually connect with the person that's actually sitting there.
Right,
And I learned a lot of my other traits on how I operate my business from the Walt Disney World Company, where I worked at the Walt Disney World Resort in my during my college internship. There, I didn't drink though because um my whole internship was online. So, but
right.
now that I've been doing this for about 3 years or so, I don't drink it, like as much as I used to anymore. Like my taste buds have changed.
Okay.
Um, I've been getting into a lot of wine lately. It's
Hmm.
making me feel all old and sophisticated, but
That's funny. Me too. I got into wine like recently. I'm like,
yeah, it's something about
I
just like holding a glass and it's just
right.
like it's cute.
And I know you can like wine and sneak up on people, but I have yet to give myself a hangover on wine. So until that happens, you know what I'm saying? It will,
It don't take I will say I haven't been hungover in a while. I'll say because I haven't been like going. I've not been drinking like that really
right.
at all, especially within the last few months.
Hmm.
But like taste testing here and there, like if I'm doing something for an event or doing something for a client, yes. But my resident taste testers would probably be my boyfriend and my mom. And he kind of just drinks anything. But he'll tell me like if he doesn't like it, but my mom is this is where I get it from. Like besides her facial expression, her pickiness, she will absolutely tell me. She's like, no, this is not no, not doing that. No. Well, you should make it sweeter. Like she likes sweet. I like more citrusy, sour.
Okay.
James is kind of a middle, but I can really do anything
I
because I
guess. Right. Hey, look at that. I like that. Listen, you better talk your shit every now and then. Ain't nothing wrong with
can.
that. And then I wanted because I haven't released my book. So everybody that released a book, shout out to y'all releasing a book. And I know that was somewhat of a journey, but you did that. It was done like earlier this year. Before we even start, how does that feel? Like it's
It
done.
feels amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll be very honest with you. If I could advise anybody when they do their book to actually have somebody else look over it, look over it. Because I have like 3 typos in there. I swore I fixed.
Right.
But I'm like, hey, it is what it is. It
Right.
happens. Like again, that's another part of the journey of you learn what
Right.
the mistakes you made and then you move forward on how to not make those mistakes again.
Right.
So I'm very proud of my book. I'll say this book was 10 years in the making because it
Mm.
was at first it was going to be a different poetry series from like all of the poetry that I've ever written from like out of 60 poems I've written out of my entire career. Then it was going to be something different, but then I was going to release it last year. While I talk about I was in this different situation of actually being scammed and catfished, and I was actually planning a wedding for 6 months and that
Mm.
never happened. And after that, it was just like I have to really start betting on me and um just taking me to the next level, because for me, when I'm in a relationship, I'm all in. But when that happened last year, while I was in that predicament, I also had lost my friend of not like they passed away, but like, we'll
Right.
just say
A
it was a
lot.
friendship breakup. and I didn't have as much self-confidence as I needed, and I felt like I needed to prove something to myself and to whoever else I was trying to prove stuff to. So I'm like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this on what I thought success, what society told me success was. And then when I released my first book, it felt amazing
Yeah.
because that was my hard work and the hours and the poetry and just trying to like see how it was going to flow and everything. Like, I'm very proud of it. I will say it was still hard, but it was a lot easier than I had made it out to be. I overthought the process a lot, but I'm happy to know that, okay, now that I've done one, I can
Yeah.
do another.
Yes. And you will.
Yes, that was supposed to be next month, my release, but
Oh, okay.
said for my second one, which is actually called The Bright Smile, which is the novel version of the play I released
Mm.
about my domestic violence relationship that I dealt with while I was like in college. But like we already talked about, life got in the way this year. I'll also be very honest with myself. I probably wasn't ready to relive all of that
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
Um, and as much as I keep my therapist on speed dial and my partner, like James, is great.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think that I was just ready to still open that can of worms yet, and it's okay that I can just
Yes,
do that
absolutely.
within my own time.
Absolutely. 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 Yeah. 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 Not at all of that. Love all of that. So promotion time, because you can't. Yeah, yeah, no one conversation was gonna cover all this, but it was an introduction for people. Probably, I definitely learned a lot from you. So more details on everything from the cocktails to the book coming out to to your podcast. Like, shout yourself out.
Thank you. Yes. So, I am going by now as the TC Hurd, like how you know how they say the Ohio State, but it's like
Yeah.
the TC Hurd, but just with one E. So I'm not like Megan. My companies consist of making sure that we take people on the journey of becoming their best selves. So with TC Hurd, who just me, I go into like the workshopping, the speaking engagements, as well as the poetry part of it. So I love being able to share my stories, be able to help someone else and connect. The other parts of my company, of course, we talked about Phenomenon Cocktails already, which we service all the DMV areas. You can go to our website, Phenomenon, like I said,
Mhm.
phenomenoncocktails.com, and check out us there. We have a few annual events that we service, like with Vita Fitness in the area, as well as with Grid Consulting. And we just made a new partnership with Story Tapestries, which I'm super excited about because we'll
Very
be there
nice, very nice.
for an
I'm gonna
event.
jump. I'm gonna jump in and put myself. I'm gonna put myself on the spot. Phenomena. PhenomOME. Excuse me. NON.
Yes.
Okay, right. Because that's one thing that all of us got to do. We'll just like say it a couple times. We're like, I know how to
Yes.
spell, but I'm nervous right now. I don't know how to spell.
I
I
own
mean,
the company and I misspell it sometimes too. So
all
it's
the
okay.
time, right? So for all of y'all that was like phenomenal, phenomenon, I'm lost either way.
Yes,
And it'll be
phenomenon.
on the show. It'll be on the show.
Um,
Right.
and also this, well, technically we're in fall now because the first day of fall was either yesterday or today.
Mhm.
This winter I'm launching TC Designs, where style and possibilities are endless.
Nice.
So if you guys know me or if you've been following me last year, is that you know that I love Christmas. I also too just love this time of year. I got
Yeah.
Halloween, I got Christmas. So I am like Mariah Carey on a budget. So on a college budget, but I make everything look so tasteful and so incredibly done. So I'm starting my holiday decorating company, TC Designs, where we do your Christmas trees. We decorate, whether it may be like your office or just like your living room, your kitchen, things of that nature. I'm starting that design company and getting the packaging and things that like that, what that looks like. We'll even come take the trees down and you can keep the ornaments and things of that nature. Or if you want to do a new theme, for me, my house has 4 trees and it's only 2 stories. Don't ask me why. It's a necessity because it's Christmas. So
Ask away.
November 1st, all of my trees are up.
Follow her
Normally
and ask her why.
Halloween, I'm
I'm a
setting my
Leo.
trees up.
Mhm.
But you all can follow me at the TC Herd. That's THETC as in cat. Herd like you heard something, not
Right.
like cattle, not like a flock. Heard like you heard something. HEARD. You'll get the plugs to my podcast. You heard it here. Get it? You heard it here with
Right.
TC Heard. My podcast episodes are released every other Thursday on YouTube and Spotify. And again, if you follow me on Instagram, all of those pages are there in my bio.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, the beautiful thing is that's actually my schedule. So jump on, catch one of our new episodes, catch the other new episode. It's right there. It's just right there. It's perfect.
Make
Hey,
sure y'all
listen.
follow and subscribe.
Yes, do that. Follow, subscribe, and on specific platforms, leave a review real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Leave that review. So look, I promise you, I try to keep them shorter than this. I look at the time, right, and I promise you, but then these conversations just get so good to me. You know what I'm saying? I hope other people, but I know I'm loving them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Talaya, TC Heard. I appreciate everything that I heard tonight. You see me. Woo, woo.
Thank you.
So big, right? Absolutely. So shout out to you, everything you're doing, everything you're going to continue to do. Prayers and blessings as you continue to deal with your health situation. Everybody else, your own personal journey and battles. Y'all take care. You take care. You're more important than everything else and everybody else. You take care. So that's it. That's all. I appreciate y'all. Till next time, this was the Smart Dumb Podcast. Y'all be good.
Thank you.
Love it.